As President Trump's allies ramp up their attacks on special counsel Robert Mueller, Speaker of the House Paul Ryan has decided now is the perfect time to get out of Washington. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. President Trump is already dealing with a mountain of embarrassing and potentially incriminating stories. But just before we started taping this show, we got another one about that infamous salacious allegation involving Trump and a certain sex act in a hotel room in Moscow, thanks to former FBI Director James Comey's new book.
We're back with our experts as we follow multiple breaking stories, including some explosive new excerpts from the former FBI Director James Comey's new book.
This is regarding Comey writing about Trump. He brought up what he called the golden showers thing, adding that it bothered him if there was, quote, even a 1% chance, and quote, his wife Melania thought it was true. Then it goes on. He just rolled on, unprompted, explaining why it couldn't possibly be true, ending by saying he was thinking of asking me to investigate the allegations to prove it was a lie. I said it was up to him.
Oh my God, it's real. It has to be. Why would you ask the FBI director to investigate a P-tape if you knew for a fact that P-tape definitely didn't exist? That's like me saying, can you make sure there isn't a tape of me in 1994 doing Thunder Road at karaoke and then barfing and then slipping on the barf and farting? You know, I've always thought that P-tape was real, and here's how I know. Back when the dossier first dropped, Trump was asked about the allegations on Fox News. Now, pretend you're a normal, decent person who just got elected president, and someone asks you if there's a P-tape with you in it. You'd say something like, that's insane, or what are you talking about? Here's what Trump said.
Nothing's ever going to show up. There's never going to be a tape that shows up. There's never going to be anything that shows up. Now, I would be very embarrassed if a tape actually showed up saying something like that. It would be double embarrassed because I'm saying that there is no tape.
If it came out, I would be embarrassed. That's like if your girlfriend said, are you cheating on me? And you said, look into my eyes, because what I'm going to tell you is 100% true. It would suck if you found out about that. Of course, this comes in the same week that the FBI raided the office of the president's personal attorney for evidence about the Stormy Daniels allegations. And in response, the president has openly floated the possibility of shutting down the special counsel's Russia investigation. If you're a leader in Congress, now would be a time to step in and exercise some oversight over the administration. Or if you're Paul Ryan, you could decide it's time to get the hell out of here.
The major breaking news from Capitol Hill, a seismic shakeup in Congress. The Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, is telling his friends and colleagues he will not run for re-election.
Today, I'm announcing that this year will be my last one as a member of the House.
No! You gave us Donald Trump. You should have to live with him. Come on, buddy. I mean, you can't just clog up the toilet and then leave the dinner party. Stay here and get a plunger. Of course, for Paul Ryan, this is the logical conclusion of his term as Speaker. After all, he's spent the entirety of Trump's presidency ignoring the damage Trump has inflicted on our political system and pretending not to even read his tweets or stories about him.
I haven't put a second's of thought into this. It's just not on my radar screen.
I'm not going to speculate on something I haven't read. I didn't actually hear the comments. I only heard about those comments. I'm not familiar with exactly what happened yesterday. I've been a little busy with some other tasks. I don't know the specs. I don't know the specifics on it. I really just don't.
Mr. Speaker, any comment on the Trump story?
Hey, how you doing, Alice?
Hi.
Good to see you.
Are you reading the story?
I'm reading something about it.
What are your thoughts about what some have considered to be a threatening tweet from the president directed to Mr. Cohen?
I've decided I'm not going to comment on the tweets of the day or the hour.
You don't get to decide that. You're the Speaker of the House. You don't have the luxury of dealing with the president the way the rest of us deal with a crazy person on the subway. I'm gonna bomb Syria. Woo! Oh, boy. One thing Ryan has always been good at is cloaking the politics in the modern Republican Party. The politics that led to Donald Trump in high-minded rhetoric, as he did once again in his comments yesterday.
I'm grateful that we have unified government that the president, with his victory, gave us so that we get all these big things done. We're going to have a great record to run on. So I'm really proud of what we've been able to do. When I took this job, one of my conditions was that we aim high.
Aim high? You support Donald Trump. Did you aim high, or were you high when you aimed? Of course, when Ryan touts his supposed accomplishments, he's thinking specifically of that massive corporate tax cut that blew a nearly $2 trillion hole in the deficit, a tax cut he once again celebrated yesterday.
Probably the two biggest achievements for me are, first, the major reform of our tax code for the first time in 36 years. Which has already been a huge success for this country, and that's something I've been working on in my entire adult life.
You worked on it your entire adult life. It literally had last-minute notes scribbled in the margins that no one could read. It's like if I told my wife, honey, I painted a portrait of you for our anniversary, and I've been working on it every day for the past 10 years. Could you tell it was you? So Paul Ryan says he's been working on this tax cut his entire adult life, and yet when he tries to brag about the supposed benefits for average Americans, he bungles it. Like earlier this year, after Democrats said middle-class taxpayers would only get crumbs compared to what corporations and the wealthy would get, Ryan retweeted a story about Hostess, the snack company giving its workers free snacks as a result of the tax cut. Ryan added, "These are crumbs." Dude, you're bragging that because of the tax cut, people will get free Twinkies? I want health care and a livable wage. What's wrong with you? Look, let me put it in Hostess terms. Let me put this in Hostess terms. If you're bragging about giving away Twinkies while the deficit snowballs, you're a ding-dong. And that is a zinger. Ryan ran through a tax cut that will cost trillions despite spending years lecturing President Obama and Democrats about the deficit in government spending. Ryan even lectured then-President Obama about deficit spending to his face when Obama invited Republicans over to the White House for a bipartisan summit on health care reform early in his term.
The full 10-year cost of this bill has a $460 billion deficit. The second 10-year cost of this bill has a $1.4 trillion deficit. And I think probably the most cynical gimmick in this bill is something that we all probably agree on.
Look at Obama's face. That's the face of a man thinking to himself, only 8 more years until I can go kite surfing. So Ryan and the GOP establishment revealed that everything they spent 8 years pretending to care about was a scam. Ryan wants to be remembered as a serious intellectual, but in reality, he'll be remembered as an accomplice to Trump, which is dangerous because Trump is somehow becoming even more untethered, if that's possible. This week, he's openly floated the possibility of firing the special counsel, Robert Mueller, and attacked him by name. And yet, Ryan insisted yet again yesterday there was no need to protect Mueller because Trump would never fire him.
On the president, he has been openly talking about firing Bob Mueller, potentially firing the Deputy Attorney General. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts haven't changed. I think they should be allowed to do their jobs. We have a rule of law in this country, and that's a principle we all uphold. I have no reason to believe that that's going to happen. I have assurances that it's not, because I've been talking to people in the White House about it.
Talking to people in the White House? Who? There's no one left in the White House. True story. If you hold the White House up to your ear, you can hear the ocean. In reality, there's an organized effort among Trump's allies in Congress and the right-wing media to attack Mueller and lay the groundwork for firing either Mueller or the man who supervises Mueller, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. Now, that effort has already been going on for some time, but the craziest thing we've seen so far from Trump allies in the right-wing media came last night from Sean Hannity, a.k.a. Cadillac Lurch. True story, whenever Trump calls for him, Hannity responds like this.
You right.
Hannity was responding to former FBI Director James Comey, who compared Trump to a mob boss, and Trump apparently spoke to Hannity beforehand and knew what was coming, because before Hannity's show, Trump tweeted, "Big show tonight on Sean Hannity, 9 p.m. on Fox News." Man, I thought Hannity was Trump's hype man, but clearly it's the other way around. Trump spends so much time hyping Hannity's show, he's basically Hannity's Don King. So on his show last night, Hannity decided to take Comey's mob boss comparison and run with it. Run with it right off the rails.
if Comey thinks Trump is a mob boss, if he is in his eyes, well, let's talk about a family responsible for actual crimes. We'll call it the head of the notorious political cabal, of course, Bill and Hillary Clinton, the Clinton crime family. Now, the next, by the way, if we're going to go to crime families, let's look at the Mueller crime family. Last but not least, we have one other crime family we want to tell you about. And, well, this is near and dear to Comey's heart. We'll call it the Comey crime family.
Wow, you know it's bad when you're making less sense than Carrie from Homeland. Now, with all of the talk of Trump potentially firing Mueller, Trump tried to get out ahead of the story today, tweeting, "I have agreed with the historically cooperative, disciplined approach that we have engaged with Robert Mueller, unlike the Clintons. I have full confidence in Ty Cobb, my special counsel, and have been fully advised throughout each phase of this process." I love when you can tell Trump didn't personally write one of his tweets. That thing is all lawyerly language except for the "unlike the Clintons." That was the one thing they obviously caved and let him add. Can I call them the crooked Clintons? No. Can I have 3 exclamation points? How about 0 exclamation points? How about 1? Fine. Just as Trump gets more dangerous, Republicans are either quitting or egging him on. Republicans in Congress should be reining him in. Instead, when he calls for them, they answer by saying, "You're right." This has been A Closer Look.